Hello, fifth graders. This is Mr. James back with the legislative branch. We're going to be reading the last part of this text today. Then you're going to take a little quiz, and then you're going to work on producing the final draft of your informative essay about butterflies. So let's go ahead and get right started here. We left off, we read through page 11, and so we are starting on page 12 today. Make sure you're following along in your text, and maybe you've pre-read your questions for your quiz so you can see what you need to get answered today as you read. Please make sure you're following along.
What members of Congress do. Members of Congress typically have very busy schedules. Here is a glimpse into some parts of their work. Committees. Senators and members of the House are assigned to committees and subcommittees. Permanent committees in Congress, such as those dedicated to education and the workforce, agriculture, and the budget, are called standing committees. Other committees investigate a specific problem for a certain amount of time. Committees form subcommittees to take care of certain tasks. Speeches. Senators can talk about a bill for as long as they like, unless a time limit has been set. Often, only a few senators are actually on the Senate floor to discuss a bill. Other senators are busy working on committees or in their offices. When a bell rings, senators go to the floor to vote. Because there are so many more representatives than senators, certain rules limit the amount of time they can speak about a bill, as well as how many changes they can make to a bill. Getting elected. Members of Congress spend a lot of their time campaigning and fundraising. Since representatives are elected every 2 years, fundraising is very important for them to keep their jobs. In election years, representatives might spend 4 hours a day fundraising. They need money for advertisements, travel, posters, stickers, and stamps. Through phone calls, speeches, and interviews, members of Congress try to win votes by talking about what they have done and plan to do to help the people they represent. Voting. Members of Congress must be physically present in the Capitol building to vote. Representatives vote by putting a card into a machine at one of 47 voting stations located throughout the House. Senators have 3 options for voting. In a roll call vote, senators vote aloud after a clerk calls their name. In a voice vote, senators vote aloud together. Exact numbers are not counted. In a division or standing vote, individual votes in a voice vote are counted. How power is shared in the U.S. government. The framers of the Constitution did not want the legislative, executive, and judicial branches to abuse their power. A system of checks and balances in the Constitution ensures that power is distributed fairly among the 3 branches. The legislative branch checks the executive branch by approving people the president chooses for certain positions and treaties made by the president. The legislative branch checks the judicial branch by approving the president's choices of judges. In addition, Congress checks the judicial branch by proposing amendments to the Constitution that would overturn judicial decisions. The other 2 branches can also check the legislative branch. The presidential veto is an example of the executive branch's check on the legislative branch. Even after the majority of Congress has accepted a bill, the president can prevent it from becoming law. However, to maintain a balance of power, Congress can vote to override a presidential veto if 2/3 of each house votes to accept the bill. The judicial branch checks the legislative branch when the Supreme Court overturns a law passed by Congress and the president because the court decides it is unconstitutional. The responsibility of Congress. A statue called Freedom stands on top of the dome of the Capitol building where the Senate and the House of Representatives meet. The female figure wears a helmet and holds a sword and a laurel wreath. She wants peace, but she is ready to fight to protect her country's freedom. Freedom reminds the politicians representing the American people what the United States stands for. With the power to write and change laws, the legislative branch is an important part of the United States government. Senators and representatives make sure that all citizens have a voice and are fairly represented in their government. Connections.
All right.
Writing.
And so, as I said earlier, your reading today, you're going to complete the quiz that's given. There is a question in which you do a written response. Number 6 says, why is the legislative branch important to the U.S. government? So you're going to answer that after answering the multiple choice question. And then you're going to take the rough draft that you were working on that you made revisions to yesterday, and you're going to write it as a final draft today. Make sure that you take a look at the Yam Festival essay. Remember, you're not writing about yams, you're writing about butterflies. But this is to give you an idea of what it should look like. You should have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs with supporting details, and a conclusion. And you're going to compose your final draft on the next 2 pages. If you have questions, need anything, please let us know. It's a short week this week, only 4 days. So I hope that you have a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you and talking to you again soon.